So now we're going to have more fun learning by applying some pressures to the ports and see what happens. And a really easy way to do that is simply to take a tube and push it over the input port of one channel. Of course, we have no pressure on there yet. And push it over the port of another channel. And we'll notice that a very high pressure appears in here. The mere act of us pushing the tube onto the port compresses the air like a piston and creates a pressure inside this tube, and we have the same pressure on this port as this port, and you can see that both channels read the same pressure. We can do the same thing on this gauge, where we go from the positive port on one channel to the positive port on the other channel. So we have the same pressure in each port, and again we have a similar pressure on each channels, and this one is going to take about 10 seconds because it's on 10-second averaging from the previous test. This is on 1-second averaging. But you'll notice that the pressure's fallen off. What's happening here is that the auto zero is actually allowing the pressure to bleed out of the tubing. In this case here, auto zero is on, so the pressure will be bleeding out of here also. Each time the gauge auto zeros, a tiny little bit of air gets released and the pressure drops inside this tube. So we're going to turn the auto zero off. Here it says it's off. And the pressure should hold a little bit more constant now. So here we've got a pressure from this port to this port, positive to positive, channel A, channel B. Now if we disconnect this tube, the pressure of course drops to zero, and now we connect the tube across these ports, and even though we have a pressure in there, we're not experiencing any pressure in here because we're looking at the difference between these two ports always, and there's no difference between these two ports, so this is zero. And the same thing will occur here. We disconnect this tube, put it from one port to the next on the same channel, and this gauge will again drop down to zero, but because it's on 10-second averaging, it'll take a little bit of time to do so.